Welcome to Coffee and History, a conversation with Alabama Heritage. We are your hosts. I'm Rebecca Minder.
I'm Susan Reynolds.
And I'm Caroline Gazzara-McKenzie.
Join us as we sit down with some of the most fascinating folks in the Alabama community as we bring you the stories of Alabama that educate, inspire, and we hope entertain. Before we dive into today's conversation, let's kick things off with our Did You Know segment. And Susan, I think you have a fun Alabama fact for us today.
I do, and I learned something new with this one. So did you know that, well, we all know, first of all, that Alabama's been home to many famous novelists, poets,
Yes.
prose writers.
Definitely.
But did you know that we did not have an actual state poet laureate until 1931?
That's kind of weird. If you think about it, because, especially of all the people who are so, this is such a literary state.
Right.
It's kind of weird that you wouldn't have one until the 30s.
Okay, so me being the youngest person here, did most states have one back in the early 1900s?
No.
Or okay, so this is not an anomaly.
No, but our first poet laureate was Samuel Minturn Peck, and he actually became the poet laureate in 1930, but it was not official until the act was passed in 1931, and he served until 1938.
Whoa, 7 years.
Yeah, and since then, other poets have inhabited this honored position, including Mary Ward, Ralph Hammond, Ashley Jones, Andrew Glaze, and our amazing guest today, who's one of my favorite people, Jennifer Horne. Yay!
That's right. So
You're not going to clap?
Well, we haven't even
introduced her.
Oh, that was my bad.
But that's okay.
I'm jumping the gun because I just want to come in here and talk to her.
Y'all, here's the funny thing. Listeners,
we all know Jennifer. So
listeners, we love Jennifer Horne. And yes, she is our guest today, but we haven't really officially introduced her. So we're going to do that. And so today,
we got Susan fangirling over here. It's great.
True.
So Jennifer, she's originally from Arkansas. She's lived in Alabama since 1986, from what we gathered in our Facebook stalking of her. So she's definitely one of us now. We approve. She's an author of prose, poetry, fiction, written 6 books, been the editor or co-editor of 5 anthologies, served as the 12th Poet Laureate of Alabama from 2017 to 2021. She was also the Poetry Book Reviews editor for Alabama Writers Forum. In 2024, her book, Odyssey of a Wandering Mind, The Strange Tale of Sara Mayfield, was published by the University of Alabama Press. And she has also written for this lovely magazine that's a history quarterly called Alabama Heritage. So welcome, Jennifer Horne.
Now we can clap.
Yeah!
Thank you so much.
Of course.
To be here.
We're happy to have you on the show.
You're the only guest that's gotten the double clap now.
She deserves the double clap because we were actually talking before the show started that, Jennifer and I have something in common, that we have both worked for Alabama Heritage and we both worked for the University of Alabama Press. And there was only one other person that we know of that has that same honor, and that's Rachel Dobson. And so if there's anybody out there watching or listening, and if you worked in both places, let us know so we can add you to that honor, because we should have an honor roll or something. I don't know, T-shirts. Maybe we should have T-shirts made.
Y'all talked about buttons. Okay, let's start there.
Start
small.
Start with buttons,
And
party
then-
hats.
And then move your way up into the elite club that you guys are in.
I don't know, champagne and cake sounds good too. So
Cake is always necessary.
Of course.
all right, so Jennifer, we know that your Sara Mayfield book was something that you worked on for a really long time. And I think we read that you started around 2015 doing your research. And so it was something that took you forever, it seems like. I know how writing does. It's like you want to keep going, But what made you get interested in it? And why did you spend so much time on it? I mean, I can imagine it was just a lot of research.
Yeah, first, it's even frighteningly longer than that. I actually started reading Sara's works in 2006.
Oh.
Wow.
In the summer, Don and I, my husband, took a trip to Greece, and I took all of Sara's books, and I read them because I was curious about her. I'd been curious since I heard about her in the late 80s after I moved to town.
Right.
And she had just died in 1979. People in Tuscaloosa knew her, and she was this exotic person who had been friends with Zelda and Scott, and then had spent all this time in the Bryce Mental Hospital, and I was always intrigued. But I got to a point in 2006 where I'd finished some work that I was doing, and I thought, I'm just going to sort of tiptoe into this and see if it might be a project. And it did. the first publication was Alabama Heritage.
Yep.
Sara Mayfield, A Woman of Her Times,
Yes.
in 2016. So that was a great marker just to kind of get her out there. But all her papers, and she was a voluminous letter writer and record keeper, and they're all in the Hoole Special Collections Library. So I spent a ton of time going through every last scrap of paper in the Mayfield collection, and then just trying to figure out how to approach her life in a way that was true to her and would be interesting for people to read.
Was there anything that you found at Hoole that just in her papers that was just like, oh my gosh?
There was a little scrap of paper written by F. Scott Fitzgerald at a party when he was drunk.
That's amazing.
Hello.
To the hostess. So that was pretty exciting. The other really just jump out of my chair moment was when she was riding home from London to Sarah Hart, who was just Sarah Hart then, not Sarah Hart Mencken, that she had tea with Virginia Woolf, and that Woolf was working on an essay about how women could really do better if they had a room of their own to write in.
That's
And my hair
amazing.
just stood on end.
Right.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And that's just over there in Hoole Special Collections at the University of Alabama.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of an amazing space anyway. And I know that you've probably had a lot of interactions with Hoole because of not just, your own writings, but dealing with Alabama Heritage and UA Press. I mean, has there been other things that you've kind of come across that's not necessarily related to Sara Mayfield that, you thought, wow, I can't believe we have this in our archives?
Well, one of the things, I haven't gone to see it yet, but I wanted to, there's apparently a set of keys that went to the Bryce Hospital rooms, just like a big old set of keys, and I would love to see that.
Are they like big skeleton
I
keys
assume
or
so.
something
Like in my
that?
mind, they're a great big clanking.
And a big round hoop like this that's got them all
Exactly,
hanging
yeah.
down. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh!
so I haven't seen that.
Well,
yeah.
maybe we need to go on a field trip over
I
to
think
Hoole.
so. Yeah.
Well, I think we should have done that before they remodeled.
Yeah, and in the
Then
old days,
because
I'm
now you
sure-
can't test them to see if they
No.
work.
Oh,
The doors have changed.
Yeah. Oh, we could have gone into the actual building and
Yeah.
see what they opened.
Yes. Now, have you been to
Well,
the?
it's just been Halloween, so we're going kind of
I
spooky
know.
here.
Have you been to the original Bryce near the airport at Tuscaloosa Airport?
Well, it's not
Have you-
it's not original.
Well, it's the-
they call it the old Bryce.
The old Bryce.
Yeah. But
No, I didn't even know about it. Was it the first mental hospital?
No,
no?
it was the Jemison Hospital, right?
Right.
Okay.
And so it's near the Tuscaloosa Airport. And technically there's a gate, so you're not supposed to go there. But 90% of the
Yeah.
time the gate's either not there or people just, or it's open or people just walk across it. And it's scary. I'm sure it's haunted, and every room that you walk into, it's really cold, and there's a lot of graffiti, and there are ovens there for people who have passed away, and so it's a very scary space.
I take it you've walked around.
Oh, I've walked and I've taken pictures, and we've done all sorts of things. I think it's great for prom pictures. Anybody, maybe a wedding photo. I don't know, but I mean, because everybody likes those little juxtapositions of contrast. But
I just appreciate that you say ovens for humans. So, like,
It's a crematorium, basically.
yeah, that's exactly what
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
It's
that's
basically
the word.
falling down right now. It's really dangerous in there.
it is very
actually.
dangerous,
And
according to
you're not
Susan.
supposed to
But
go.
and no, you're not supposed to go,
All right.
according to Susan. But every time I go, there's tons of people there.
Uh-huh.
The
Well,
best
correct
time-
me if I'm wrong, but wasn't this building that we're in right now, the Press and Alabama Heritage Building, weren't there
Yes.
cells for patients?
I don't know.
Who
I
needed to be
heard-
restrained?
I heard it was an observation facility, but this
Okay.
building, the McMillan building, is what we're referring to on campus, and it was originally part of the Bryce property, Bryce Hospital, and I feel there is still some haunting here because I feel like there's some people who come in this building one way and then they leave a different way. It just depends on how many years you stay.
Well, and the
So-
architecture of the building, because there used to be an engine room at the base of it, so you can see like the steam areas that would have come out. It's a really interesting building.
It's a haunted building.
That too. It is haunted.
100%.
Do we have
But-
a name for any of our ghosts?
No.
We should.
But
we should work
now,
on that.
Jen, you used to work at Alabama Press, and you also worked for the magazine. So did you ever work in this facility or for either one, or in which buildings did you work?
Yeah, I started out at Alabama Heritage in the wonderful old Kilgore House, which
Yes.
unfortunately, tragically, was torn down.
Which was
broke my
also
heart.
haunted.
And it was haunted.
Yeah,
speaking
Susan
of.
had
Yeah.
We need to
ghosts.
talk.
Yes.
Because Susan
Yes.
had ghosts that followed her, and they had names.
Mm.
Oh.
What were their names? Do you remember?
Well, Andrew was the male presence that was in there.
And how'd you know that was his name? Did he tell you on a Ouija board?
No, he set it into a recorder when someone was doing paranormal investigation.
So there was,
Ooh.
this is a blue Victorian style home that used to be on the University of Alabama campus. And fun fact, my sister was married there in the 1970s. And it was where the university housed Alabama Heritage for a while. So that's where you worked when you were with the magazine.
And was the first co-ed housing on
That's
the
right.
University of Alabama campus.
That's right. And so it was a paranormal group that came to the house
Several.
and stayed overnight and got recordings.
I heard a woman weeping once in the office
Okay.
that I worked in.
Which office did you
It
work
was
in?
the upstairs. When you came up the stairs, it was to the right and a little back.
Oh, that's what I called the cave.
Okay.
Mhm.
The
Oh,
cave.
my goodness.
Well, it's because it had that awful, I don't know if it was there when you were there, but it had the awful sort of like fluorescent lighting up at the top.
It was
Yeah.
a great big room.
Yes,
that you
yes.
sort of felt a little lost in. Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to say I hear women weeping around here all the time. And I don't think it's because it's haunted. And so when you worked at UA Press, were you in this Macmillan building?
First, it was when the press was in a state of moving. So I was downtown for
Okay.
a little bit,
Yep.
over like kind of behind Hooligans.
Right.
When Hooligans is there.
Where hooligan, that's Southern
Yeah.
directions right there. It's
Yeah.
where Hooligans used to be.
Exactly
It's like we all
right.
know what you mean. Yeah.
A little off University Boulevard, downtown, and then here. So
Yeah.
yeah, I did work in this building.
So you
yeah.
didn't work with them when they were in the Armory, because they were in the Armory
No,
for a little
I missed
while.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the press has moved around a lot, just
And
like
then
the
somewhere
magazine.
else before that, I think on what's now Bryce Lawn Drive, I think there was an old house that the press was in.
There
So,
was
yeah.
one near the practice facility for
Yeah.
the football team, because my mom worked here in the 70s.
Oh, right.
And so I grew up in that little house on a little screened-in porch, playing while she was working. So, yeah, the press has always been kind of like on the outskirts of campus, because we're different, we're special, we got to do things differently. And so Alabama Heritage has kind of been the same way. So, well, welcome to the club. There's a great club of people who have worked in both
It
places.
So we're going to go back to just you and your work, because I know Rebecca could talk about this building and y'all's history forever. I discovered from the article you wrote for us at Alabama Heritage that Sara worked for UA Press and wrote several books, including Exiles from Paradise, which was about Zelda Fitzgerald and her husband, F. Scott Fitzgerald, the famous author. Can you tell us about the relationship in the book? Also, why did she say why she destroyed her correspondence with Zelda?
Yes. So they grew up together in Montgomery. Zelda was a little bit older than Sara, so kind of a big sister figure. And Sara really, I wouldn't say worship, but she looked up to her, really was a little bit starstruck, I think. And they were both creative women. They didn't fit the mold in Montgomery. There were several women like that who were born around the turn of the century. And so they stayed friends through Zelda's death in the fire in North Carolina in 1948. She was friends with Scott, frenemies with Scott, I don't know. But yes, she hung out with both of them in London and Paris, on the Riviera. She knew them as part of the expat American group in the 20s. And I think that with Zelda's mental health struggles, Sara really felt a desire to protect and stand up for this woman that she knew to be so creative and so full of life. And then the sort of secret story behind that is that even when Sara wrote about Zelda in her book, she did not reveal that she too had been hospitalized for mental health issues for 17 years. So there was this underlying empathy that she had. She didn't reveal, but a lot came out of that, I think.
And did she say why she destroyed her correspondence with Zelda?
She wanted to protect her privacy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, in the nature of protecting her privacy, we don't know exactly what she was protecting, but we know that Zelda had at least one abortion, that there may have been a physical love affair in France. There's debate about that. That Zelda may have confided things in Sara that she didn't want other people to know. So, but it was to protect privacy, basically.
It wasn't unusual back then to destroy, correspondence with people. I mean, it's a little harder now with the digital trail,
Yeah.
but which will be interesting in the future with biographies. But I loved that book on Sara, and I loved the launch party that we had. That was a
so
lot of
much
fun.
yes.
Tell everybody a little bit about that.
Well, the press, especially in the person of J.D. Wilson, just got behind this book and threw us a big launch party in the, I don't know the name of the building, but where the UA Opera is, and worked with Paul Hoteling to make a party, and a woman whose name I'm not bringing to mind right this moment sang a mad scene to kind of echo the Bryce Hospital institutionalization time. And we had a great time. We had
It was so much
wine
fun.
and books and people and singing. And
It was
the best
it
launch
was
party
great.
ever.
I think it's great when you can always combine several different forms of art like that, and so that I wasn't able to attend, but I heard lots of great things about it. And it's like one of those things where, dang it, if you didn't go, you missed out.
You sure did.
Yeah.
And Susan came, and I was really flattered that she
So
came.
funny.
Yeah.
No, I had a great time, and it was a lot of fun. But let's talk a little bit about your poetry since you were our poet laureate.
Yeah.
So let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
So out of all of your collections, I guess a two-part question, which one is your favorite, if you have one? And then also, if someone is new to your work, where would you recommend they start?
Yeah, I mean, I love all my children, so it would be hard to say a favorite. My books fall sort of into categories. Like the first one, Bottle Tree, was all Southern poems. The second, Little Wanderer, was all travel poems. The third, which is more of a chat book, Borrowed Light, is more grounded in domestic life and spirituality. And then this last one, Letters to Little Rock, is all about my dad. So each one of them has its own feel and its own subject matter. So I would say start with whichever subject pulls you most.
When I first started working with you, it was when I was at UA Press and I was the publicist there. And you and Wendy Reed did Circling Faith together. So tell us about that book. And you guys had a follow-up to that. And then just even your relationship with Wendy, because she's just another great contributor to our state.
She really is, and she's done so many things, so many different things. She's now involved in public health, so she reinvents herself, and she remains a writer and a creative. Wendy approached me about doing a book on Southern women and spirituality. She had done an interview with Wayne Flint, I believe, and was kind of asking him for a project she was working on about books on Southern women and spirituality. And he said, well, I just don't think there is anything exactly. And so bing, the light bulb went off. And she said, yeah, that's what we should do. And so she approached me to see if I wanted to co-edit. So we started with All Out of Faith, Southern Women on Spirituality. And then 6 years later, we thought, we've got so much more material. We're going to do Circling Faith, Southern Women on Spirituality. And it was a great experience because we sort of beyond the Bible Belt was the way we thought about it. Different aspects of spirituality that you might not hear of in mainstream religious Southern culture. And it was great to get all the different voices that we did. And then it was great to go out and do events and have women come up and say, I didn't know anybody else felt that way. And so it just felt like it was a book and then books that needed to be done.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you when you went on tour for these books, if you did have, because we've had authors that we've interviewed here where, depending on what their book was, they would have people in the audience who were like, oh my gosh, I can totally relate to that. And let me tell you my story. So did you have a lot of that besides them just saying, I'm glad someone else thinks that way? Did they come in and say, Let me tell you my story.
Yeah, and some of them were stories of, they'd had a bad experience with a traditional Christian religion, and so they'd just gone away from it. They thought, well, I don't have spirituality because I can't be a part of this system. And then other people just had kind of drifted or not connected in one way or another. And I think they were inspired, like on the whole, if I had to characterize in general, just that you can find your own way. You can find the things that resonate for you, and you can have a spiritual life alone or in community. It just doesn't have to be the conventional one. I think that's a
Right.
theme that runs through my work. Like, it doesn't have to be the conventional way.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who attend a church at the Tavern here in Tuscaloosa, and so it's a bar downtown that where people get together, and it's very non-traditional, but it's just another way for people to get together, to sing songs, to have praise, to do lots of things as a community, and it's a small community, and I've always wanted to attend, so maybe this is my opportunity.
Okay, there's
to,
your
my
nudge.
challenge to go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you are always busy and you're always doing something, whether it be writing or something else. But what do you like to do when you're not writing? Or do you ever have downtime?
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of downtime. I mean, I try to write every day. I try to do something, whether it's just sitting down with a poem and, changing a word. I try to do something related to writing every day. But I really like gardening. I like walking. I like just being outside in general. And fortunately, I live in a little house on a lake where I get to have a lot of beautiful scenery around me. And this morning, we were having breakfast, and I looked out and I said, Don, there's a deer in the yard. And so we both went and looked at it, and then there were 2 more deer with it, including a fawn. And so, you just have these moments in nature that I really love. I really like to travel abroad, but also in the United States. I love to read and get together with friends.
Is there a place you haven't traveled yet that you would like to go to?
Yes. I really want to go to Scotland, and we tried to get there about 3 weeks ago, and our flight got canceled, and because it was going to take another night and then another 24 hours to get there, we ended up just saying we're going to go home and postpone the trip to another time. So I'm trying to get to Scotland right now.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'll go to church at the Tavern, and you go to Scotland, and then we'll report back on how it went.
Yeah, reconvene. So I love your Facebook account. And for, anybody who doesn't know, Jennifer does a short video every Wednesday called the Midweek Poetry Break. Can you tell us how that started and, what you enjoy about it?
Sure. I was Poet Laureate when the pandemic started. And the thing about being Poet Laureate is you're supposed to be out there supporting poetry and be the public face for literature in the state. And so I was really stymied. I thought, how am I going to do things for people? And so as I'm sure y'all know, people who had books coming out right then had events planned, and they were just stuck. So I thought, well, the first thing I'll do is I'll go online and I'll read some poems by people I know who have books coming out and just kind of try to get a little boost for that. And I decided to do that every day during the month of National Poetry Month, which is April. And I got some good responses, and I was kind of having fun with it. And I'm generally a color inside the lines person when it comes to doing things the right way, informally, and working with an institution and so on. But it was kind of a Wild West time. And I thought, well, I'm just going to do this thing and call it the Midweek Poetry Break. And that will be one way that I can participate as Poet Laureate. So in 2020, starting in May, I started doing it once a week rather than every day, because that would have been a bit much. And so I've done it for 5.5 years now. And I just have so much fun with it. And I love interacting with people over poetry. Just a couple of minutes out of your day and just get a poem.
It was my favorite part during the pandemic. I was like,
Yeah, because we have talked about that, because it is nice, because we just, during the pandemic, it was very hard for everybody. And it was like this one bright moment, because we also had Yo-Yo Ma, because Yo-Yo Ma would, post videos of him performing. And so it's like in between the horrifying press conferences that you got from either, the president or the governor of New York, the governor of Alabama, all these different people were doing press conferences. And so you'd watch all those, but in between those moments of trying to stay up of, are we going to die today? We had these beautiful moments, and it all came from art.
Yes.
And, I've told you this before. It definitely gave me an uplift, and I know it did to a lot of people. And just knowing that, we can just tune in and hear somebody read something beautiful to us. And you're very selective with your choices too. And it's very intentional, if it's a specific, day or week or something like that. Like you said you were reading every day during the month of National Poetry Month, but you've done some very intentional selections, and I think that's what we really appreciate because it resonates with everybody.
Yeah, I
So,
appreciate that.
on
It
behalf
means a lot, really.
And on behalf of the entire world, we thank you for doing that, and thank you for keep doing it. We hope you keep that going for a while.
sure.
Thanks. I thought, I'm finished being poet laureate. Maybe I should stop. Maybe it's presumptive, to keep going. And then I thought, well, I really like doing this. I'm just going to keep doing it.
Right,
So I'm
and you
happy I
should.
did.
We highly
Yeah.
recommend
Well, it
keep
was
doing
funny
it.
because a lot of authors and different artists were doing different kind of little things, and I missed the ones that stopped. I don't know
Yeah.
if you ever watched Anne Rice's son, Christopher Rice. He had his own little spin on this, and it was more comic than anything, but it was really just sort of a fun, get your mind out of the
Right.
chaos kind of
Well, I mean,
thing.
there's a guy who I think he might be on CBS News, and he brought his kids in, and they would do a daily news report. He and his son and
That's
daughter,
right.
and they would draw the pictures for the graphics
That's
and
so
put it
cute.
up and everything. So, I mean, but
It was
again,
important.
those stopped, and
Yeah.
so it's important that you keep it going. So
Yeah.
we appreciate that.
Well, it speaks to the power of art. We just,
Yeah.
we need art.
Yes,
Yes.
we do. And a lot
Definitely.
of people who retire, what do they end up doing in their retirement? They do art, including lots of our presidents who do that.
It feeds our souls.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. We have one president from Arkansas,
We do.
and you're from Arkansas.
Yes.
So why did you come to Alabama? Why are you here? Why
Why
are you
am
here?
I here? It's
That's a very hard
I did study
question.
a lot of philosophy as an undergraduate, so why am I here is a question that I ask. Yeah. I had gone to Hendrix College in Conway, Arkansas, and then I thought I wanted to be a writer always, but I thought, how am I going to make a living? And so I had married out of college, and we moved to Missouri so I could go to the University of Missouri Journalism School.
Oh, the
which
best.
Is, it was a really good school, but it just really was not the fit for me. They were hard news, and that was not exactly my thing.
Yeah.
And my husband got interested in book arts, and they had the book arts program here, MFA program. And I was kind of thinking about an MFA, and they had the MFA Creative Writing program. And so moved to Tuscaloosa, and 39 years later, I'm still,
Still here.
Yeah,
Do you still have family in Arkansas that you go back to visit?
My sister, especially, and a cousin that I'm close with. So I'll be there in November doing a retreat and also get to visit family. So I'm looking forward to that. But,
Excellent.
and I have to stop and tell you a Bill Clinton story. The book Letters to Little Rock, which is about and second person addresses to my father. He was an attorney in Little Rock for all of my life. He literally started work 3 days after I was born. And as part of that, because Arkansas is a small state, he knew President Clinton when he was Governor Clinton as an attorney and lobbyist. And so when the book came out, I sort of plucked up my courage and sent a copy of the book to Bill Clinton, and I got a letter back. And it was so exciting.
wow.
I'm going to get it framed.
Oh,
and, he
so
remembered my
cool.
father.
I love that.
And
Yeah.
congratulated me on being Poet Laureate of Alabama. So I still feel a strong connection to Arkansas,
Right.
even though I'm adopted Alabamian.
We
That's
keep
really
you.
cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you've mentioned already that your husband is Don Noble, who is a literary critic and host of the show Bookmark. He's interviewed so many wonderful authors, including yourself. So do you work with him at the show or at all on the show? And what was it like to be interviewed by him?
Yeah, I'll start with the second part. Kind of awkward to be interviewed because we work at home and we talk to each other all the time. But when you're sitting there with mics on, and he's asking me something that we've talked about, over 30 hours or something. It's a little funny feeling. So I think I probably look a little deer in the headlights in that interview. Although I was happy to be able to get the story of Sara Mayfield out. I do work with Don a lot. I am the editor on his weekly book reviews for Alabama Public Radio. And then during the pandemic again, we started doing recording at home. So I'm his initial producer there. We get it recorded and uploaded, and then they actually do the magic at APR. And then I help out on the show in different ways, just help I would say help communicate a little bit with authors, but do background work on authors. Sometimes I put Don's makeup on for the shoot. So
dedication right there.
Everything. Yeah. I mean, I've always loved watching that show and getting to meet the people that he interviews.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. And Rebecca and I went to the one when Margaret Atwood came.
Oh, right.
And
yeah.
I was starstruck.
I mean, here's the thing. I took pictures during that,
Yeah.
and when we were sitting in the audience, and I think there is a picture of us showing us in the audience. But when we were walking away, she was just standing at the door, and Margaret Atwood is a very petite person.
Very.
And I just looked at her, and I think I had a deer in the headlights look. And then she looked at me, and she just smiled. And unlike me, I did not approach her because normally I was so fangirling. I would have normally gone up and said, "Hey, can I get an autograph or can we take a picture?" But I didn't. I just kind of like stared at her, and she was probably looking at me like, I don't know who this crazy person is Jennifer allowed in the studio. But it was a really awkward moment, and I really wish I had spoke to her because it was a great interview, and it was good to see her.
Yeah, she's petite, but she's intimidating.
She
I'm not
is.
sure I'd approach her either. Yeah.
She is.
Okay, so I'm not alone.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my goodness. Well, are you working on any new projects now or have anything coming up?
I'm working on poems a lot because I had a big year last year. I had the Sara Mayfield book and then a co-edited collection on women, Southern women and aging, and then my Letters to Little Rock book. So there was a lot of doing and proofreading and all that. So I've just really been enjoying working on poems, and I'm working on a chapbook about small domestic objects like thimbles. And this is a weird thing, but I have a little like eyebrow brush, like for makeup, that I've had since college. And it seems so weird to me that this eyebrow brush has somehow made it through all these years.
Exactly.
So I'm working on these funny little domestic object poems. And then I've also gotten interested in Tallulah Bankhead. And so I've been reading some about her, especially her life in London in the 1920s, which is kind of when she became Tallulah.
Yeah.
So that's a research project right now.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds fascinating.
Well, don't let it take too long.
I know it's not going to take
and
19
guess where
years
you
or
can
whatever.
always publish.
Yes.
Yes, you can always publish that in Alabama Heritage Magazine, the state's
a
only
great gift.
history magazine, and it's a quarterly, makes a great gift, as Susan said. Visit alabamaheritage.com. So, Jennifer, we have this segment that we call Before You Go, and these are just quick, rapid fire. There's not many, just a few. So if you are willing to play along, we'll ask these questions. My first one is, what is your favorite childhood memory?
Favorite childhood memory? I have a lot of happy childhood memories. I love to play softball. That's when I played softball every summer for 8 years, and just that as a group of memories.
What was your position?
I was a pitcher.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
nice.
So the next question, does pineapple belong on pizza?
Absolutely not.
Amen. Amen.
Well, that was definitive.
Excluding the eyebrow brush, what is one item you can't live without?
One item I can't live without is coffee. But is that an
Amen.
item?
Yes.
It
Yes.
works. It works.
Yes.
You're speaking my language yet again.
Yes.
No
I mean-
pineapple, yes coffee.
I mean, you are on the Coffee and History podcast, so
We love coffee
that
over here.
makes work. Okay, so besides Margaret Atwood, who is probably the most famous person that you have met?
Okay. Well, to me, he's famous. Richard Wilbur is a famous poet. I have met Bill Clinton back when he was governor. I went to a talk he gave.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool. Just lots of writers.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of writers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Excellent.
What is the biggest risk you've ever taken?
Being on this podcast.
That's not risky. That's not risky.
Don Noble and I had begun seeing each other, and he had a Fulbright coming up to Bucharest, Romania, and he asked me to go with him, and I went. So going off to Bucharest, Romania was, I think, a
Nice.
pretty big risk.
That
And it was
is.
just a year and a half after Ceausescu had been killed and
Wow.
executed, and so it was fascinating place to be, and sometimes hard to find food.
Right. Wow.
Okay, well, food is important.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, who is your favorite fictional character? Or if you can't choose one, who's your least favorite?
I love Isabel Dalhousie in the Alexander McCall Smith books. I feel that Isabel and I are just very similar. And so I love reading those books. They're
That's
set in
awesome.
Edinburgh. And she's a philosopher who has a journal but also solves issues on the side.
Nice.
It's really cool.
Excellent. Well, thank you. See, you passed. You passed the
I
test.
came up with some answers anyway.
it wasn't too hard.
Hey, she had two very important answers. Pineapple does not belong on pizza, and
And
she must
coffee.
have coffee.
There we
Okay.
I
go.
support it.
Okay. I like Hawaiian pizza. I'm not going to turn it down.
Weirdo.
Food is food. I'm not going to turn down food, especially if you're in Romania and you don't have any food. You need to have,
I might have eaten Hawaiian pizza if I were in Romania. And that was all there was.
that was all there was. Well, Jennifer Horne, we really want to thank you. We've had a great time with you today. So thank you for being our guest on Coffee and History, a conversation with Alabama Heritage. You can find our podcast wherever you listen, and you can also watch us on our YouTube channel. Don't forget that if you want to subscribe to our magazine, log on to alabamaheritage.com. Until next time, thanks for listening. But first, I think I need more coffee. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.